Madam past international president, Madam District Director, Mr. Toastmaster. This plaque presented will go with the other plaques that are on the table back there. They've all made a difference in my life. When I'm thinking about Toastmasters, two words have come to mind. Opportunity, thank you. I think both of these two words have come together, and I want to share how they come together in my mind, and maybe in some way you will connect some experience of yours with that same idea, that without opportunity and thank, they come together. So let's go back to 1977. I walk into the Prince Albert Hotel meeting room for the Prince Albert Toastmaster Club. What do I see? A box with a note. Executive members of Prince Albert have given up. It's yours. I'm this newbie guy, hasn't got a clue about Toastmasters. 3 weeks later, I get a phone call. Hello, Grant. This is Neil. Neil? Well, just to inform you, this is Neil Wilkinson, who will be international president. Neil says, Grant, I'm phoning you about Prince Albert Toastmasters semi-annual dues. I say, semi-annual what? Oh, I hear this pause. He says, well, have you had a visit from your area governor? Again, I say, area what? Oh, says Neil. 2 days later, John Hanlon arrives from Saskatoon, and my experience and knowledge grows exponentially from his information. The thing is that Neil showed compassion, interest, and involvement. Without his phone call and his involvement to get John to come, I might not be here tonight. Now we move forward to 81. You've already heard Rick say he was looking for a finance manager, and he tapped me on the shoulder at a Chinook meeting, and I said, okay, sure. And so it was an opportunity to grow that whole knowledge of Toastmasters. It was also that June that I met Joan at the 3,500 foot. But 2 years later, I'm working for Petro-Canada. We're expecting our first child, Elaine. I'm enrolled in the MBA course at the University of Calgary. I'm treasurer of the church. And I'm an executive member of Chinook. And somebody says, we want you to be Division C governor. Now, there were only 3 divisions in District 42. Northern Alberta, Saskatchewan, Southern Alberta. And so when I tell Joan this, what does she say? She gives me a big hug and says, good. Yes, indeed. The hugs of a loved one are great support. 5 years later, in Edmonton, I run for what was then called Lieutenant Governor of Education, now Program Quality Director, and I lost by 10 votes or something. So I wasn't very happy character, but Joan comes up and gives me this great big hug and says, I believe. It was enough to continue on. Again, without that support, I might not be here. These were opportunities, but the thank yous made the difference. Now, I missed one point. When I left the Toastmaster Club in Prince Albert a year later, they gave me a plaque, and it's on the back on the table, thanking me for keeping the club alive and keeping it working. I was telling Lark that we kept it alive because we took the Toastmaster club and there was a Toastmasters club and we put them together. But there was that plaque. And with the thinking of the plaque comes to 93. Maybe somebody from Chinook put them up to it. I don't know. But suddenly I'm Division G, now Division D governor. And I decide that I'm going to try to delegate things. So I find an assistant division director, Lori, and I found a newsletter, Al Gibson, and I found several other people. But what was interesting was that year, and specifically with Lori, we had an area contest here in Calgary on Friday night. It ended about 10 o'clock. 6 o'clock in the morning, Saturday morning, Lori is there. We hop in a car and drive to Lethbridge for an area contest at 9 o'clock in the morning. We finish that at noon, and we hop in the car and we drive to Medicine Hat for an area contest plus training. That finishes about 8 o'clock. We get back in the car and we end up back in Calgary about 11. But that was the kind of year it was for Division G at the time. And Lori and the other area governors of the year, there's another plaque back there. So we move forward to 2013. You've heard Keith Lee, but he didn't tell you that one of the things that he asked me to do that year was be procedure committee chair, looking for changes in the District 42 procedures. Well, we made a few changes, but I really wanted to update the procedures because something we had talked about, it seemed true, and it still seems true. There is absolutely a leadership component to all the Toastmaster things. But there's a task component. And the task component needs expertise, knowledge, continuity, credibility. We should encourage everybody to be a leader. But we need to take care of the tasks, whether they be finance, webmaster, logistics. And Keith and Chuck LeBlanc we talked about it. We never put it to the council. I still believe there really is a difference between leadership and task. But it was one of those things. I'm still thankful for Keith for the opportunity to serve as procedure chairman and to actually consider that context. Now that year ended and June arrives, or May actually. I get a phone call from another district director. Doris, can we have coffee? Okay. She says, I want you to be Division J governor. Now, Division J was started by Dorothy from Chinook. And then I looked at the list of who had been Division J governors. Bev Swan, Mona Cooley, Rowena Carlson, Doris Han, Geetha, John Bauer. Doris says, do you understand that all these people have made Division J distinguished? I want this to continue. I expect this to continue. Okay, Doris. I ended up with 7 area governors, and that was an accomplishment and an achievement because we had division council meetings and all of them showed up. I'm sure that they were surprised when I said, okay, you've got an area contest coming up And here's your first speaker to tell you about how to run a contest. Welcome, Chief Judge Bev Swan. And so the next division meeting we had, I said, so you now know all about running the contest. Now you need to know about what the speaker expects. Welcome, Rowena, past the international speaker. So these then went out and ran extremely well-run contests. One of those, my area directors, Shelley, decided that she wanted to do something different from the usual contest. So she can talk to me, and I said, she's wanted a keynote speaker at a contest. I said, okay, but the keynote speaker can't speak before the humorous speakers because there might be a conflict of interest or they might happen to talk about the same thing. Shelley's answer, she put humorous contest first, had the keynote speaker and table topic second. It worked. It was a fantastic event, and that was a special event because, again, Shelley had managed to drag me in.
I dragged you into a lot.
To help this club called Twin Rivers. Ken was there, Ed Howes, Scott. They were meeting in this
falling down building.
in this AP Dynamics boardroom that housed 8 people. But they survived, and we managed to move them to the Suncor building here in 2015.
And they were President's Distinguished that year.
Shelley was also President's Distinguished area. She helped me start the regulators, and she worked tirelessly with the other clubs. But there were 6 other division area directors. Michael Hurd, he came and worked with us, and he actually ended up building a significant area when at the beginning he didn't think he could. Another area director, Adam, he wrote his area visit report for Igniters. And I got a phone call from Mona and Nandini. They weren't impressed. So I had this mediation meeting, and we talked, and we shared perspective, and we came away having a resolution. The Igniters was happy. Adam had learned a lot about leadership. But I also had a challenge that year because one of my area directors, Loretta, put her heart into all the clubs. She ran contests. She pulled out clubs that were in need of coaches. She brought me to one of the clubs called Shepherd. Their president, Miranda, became an area director the following year. But Loretta put so much effort, and yet she missed being a distinguished area by 1 DCP point. And it struck with me, and I'll tell you later, actually, Christina mentioned there was a DARE award. And the combination of Michael's efforts and Loretta's efforts stayed with me. That year ended up with a fantastic compliment year. And I went to the district conference, and I was just chatting with somebody in the back of the room, and somebody came and tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Grant, you've been nominated for Division G governor." Huh? What? All right. Okay. So Division G governor comes to fruition. And I decide we've got 4 areas, 5 areas, 2 in Lethbridge, 2 in Calgary, and 1 in Medicine Hat. And I believed that each area director should run their own contest. Lethbridge had always combined them. we're going to split them. Chuck LeBlanc, he sort of rolled his eyes and said, that's not going to work. Well, it turned out to be a challenge. I tell you, we had this table topic contest. Herky Cutler was my area director, and we had this area contest. The Toastmaster of the area of the event stood up. I thought he was noticed that he was a long-time Toastmaster, and he read the topic question, which was three sentences. It took him a minute to read the question. After the first speaker, there was a protest, and I said, okay, I don't remember his name, but I said, as long as he reads the same question, the same way, with the same enunciation and articulation, we will continue. And would you believe that he did that? If you want to look it up, it's the word scat, S-C-A-T. Wonder why I remember that. The spring contest for the other area, Joe's area, I persuade my Twin Rivers buddy Ed to come with me to this contest. Get to the contest. Joe, where's your evaluation speaker? I haven't got one. Why not? He's sick. Have you got a backup? No. Ed, have you got a speech in your back? So Ed gives this speech, and I remember one of the contest people at the end, after the contests were all announced, she said, did he really mean that? Ed was one of those speakers who would tell a story and present an idea, and with terrible conviction. He learned it from Twin Rivers. After all, table topics in Twin Rivers, truth is optional. But the contest was over at 9 o'clock, and we stepped outside, and it was snowing in a huge amount of snow. There were whiteouts. So we got in the car, and we headed home to Calgary. About 20 minutes later, after we passed Mort McLeod, Ed says, he pulls over, he said, did you see that sign back there? I said, sort of. Snowing pretty heavily. He said, it says Pincher Creek. We're on Highway 3, not Highway 2. So we turn around and we drive north to Claresholm, and by the time we get to Claresholm, the snow's gone. It's one of those things in Alberta. But that was that year with that so many things happened and we succeeded. It was also a year of negotiation again. I told you Miranda decided to be area director. But I had a new club in High River. Jocelyn Hasty decided that she was going to put on a superlative contest. But she was organizing it, and Miranda had concerns. And so we ended up at a coffee shop in Okotoks. And again, the issue came down to Jocelyn wanted to put a whole bunch of Western gear, hay bales, and Western saddles into the contest area. And I said, but Jocelyn, there's a good chance that one of our speakers is going to speak about Western things. This would create a disadvantage. So Jocelyn said, okay, we agreed, but she put all that same stuff outside the room. And Miranda ran the contest, and it was a superlative contest. It's a matter of negotiating, but I still have thank yous to Miranda and to Jocelyn for making that a superlative contest. Now we move to 2019. I'm at a district conference, and I'm commenting again about this issue about area governors not getting recognized. TI recognizes them with Distinguished Area. District 42 recognizes them Area Governor of the Year. But I was saying there are so many area governors that have struggling clubs between 8 and 12 who put their heart into it and don't get anything. Who was sitting beside me? Christina. She says, yeah, that's a big issue. Don't you have a high-performance leadership project? As a matter of fact, Christina, I do. And it's the last thing I need for the DTM plaque. So between Christina, Ken Humphreys from Twin Rivers, and Abraham George, a committee was struck. At that time, I thought that what we needed was key performance indicators. There was just a different way of sort of ranking the area governors. And I was still thinking that you needed to compare one area governor to the other. But I had some questionnaires, and I sent them out. Bev Swan was one, Lynette Terrible was another, and I got this feedback back that said, no, the issue is where they start from and where they end. It's not about comparing one area governor to another. It's about comparing the area governor to themselves. And so, based on their input, we started developing 4 contexts. Development, where did they think they were, how much did they know, and how much leadership skill did they have, and where did they end up? We had some area directors that had been area director before. We had others that had never seen an area contest. Secondly, action. What action did they take? Where were their KPIs? How many clubs were distinguished? How many clubs were at their contest? I wanted to know how many contestants they had. Not just whether they had a contest, but how many contestants. Relationship. How did they get along with their clubs? Did the clubs even know their name? Did they show up? Did they exchange the information by email? Did they phone each other? How did they connect with their area? And E, for encouragement. What did they do to encourage the club to achieve DCP status, to participate in contests, to go to officer training? What did they do? D-A-R-E, DARE. And in May of 2021, Christina and I presented the first DARE Awards to 18 area directors. Included with that was a t-shirt. Unfortunately, the concept needed evolution, it needed more work, but it fell on stony ground. And I still believe it's a chance. Someday, maybe we'll find a fertile ground for DARE. But it's that kind of situation where, again, opportunity and thanks came together. And of course, I completed the HPL and the DTM is back there. There's something called a DTM project, which I guess maybe there's an opportunity that'll show up, and that'll give me my 3rd DTM. But I want to go back to 2006 because it was referred to in David's comments. Because in 2006, that award encapsulated all the stuff I've just been talking about. Opportunity and thankfulness. It wouldn't have happened without the thankfulness for the clubs and the people that put my name forward. It wouldn't have happened without the participation in the district level. The district citation was to recognize people who had contributed extremely well either to the Toastmaster world or to the community. Interestingly enough, the first district citation was issued to Al Foster. What club did he belong to? Twin Rivers. Succeeding me in for subsequent years, Chinook has 2 more district citations. David Wing, who you heard earlier, Dorothy Jones. This district citation is incredible because it says you've taken advantage of opportunity and you've meshed it with thankfulness. People made a difference. It wasn't me that made that difference, but it was everything that combined. So I've told you about my journey, how opportunity and thankfulness combine. Perhaps in some way, my memory has touched you. Perhaps there is opportunity and thankfulness that you can connect with and maybe resonate. I do thank Lark and Daisy for the award. It will certainly join my other presentations, and it certainly will have a special place on the wall. Thank you for your attendance. Thank you for the opportunity, and so much thank you for all of the shared experiences over these years. Mr. Toastmaster.